All right, so today I'm gonna make the soda can stove. I have a seltzer can here. I'm just gonna pour it out and drink that as I talk here. So in my post, I had said that you only needed a pocket knife, which is true. You can do this with just a pocket knife. But I'm gonna show you another way to do this as well. That'll make your life a little bit easier if you have time to prepare something like this. And this is something that can be prepared and put away, like in your car, to have just in case you ever need it in a pinch. But I'm also going to show you how to make this on the spot without a can opener. So I'm going to start with a pocket knife. When using when using a pocket knife for this, try to get something small. This blade honestly is not the most ideal because it's so fat and so round. I would prefer something that's long, which I actually do have in my pocket here. So something that's long like this might be a little bit easier. This blade is not too wide either, so something that's thinner, a little bit longer is ideal. Please don't use anything. I mean, if this is all you have, you know, go for it. But a large blade like this is really easy to screw up the can or hurt yourself. You need a smaller blade that you can have good control of the entire time, because this you can really cut yourself doing this project. So I'm also today I think I'm gonna try to do this with my multi-tool. I've never done it with my multi-tool, so let's see how that goes. But yeah, so the first step you want to do is cut this part here. You don't want to cut the rim off because this is where you're gonna rest your cooking cup or pot or whatever you're using. So let's go for it. So the way that I cut into it, let's see if this will work. I don't think it will, but we'll try it out. Where's that other one? Here it is. So you're gonna want to cut from the center of the mouthpiece to the edge, and try not to bend the edges of the can while you do this. So this isn't working for this part here, so I'm gonna go this way. Stick your blade in and just cut down towards the rim here. So you'd make a bunch of cuts like this, and then you'd start pushing in the metal so that it opens it up. But I'm going to show you how to use this. Makes it a lot easier to get the cover off. Alright, so now that that's out, you have a nice wide opening for your stove. Nothing in there. So again, if you didn't have a bottle opener, you would just cut and then pull all these pieces to the side and create that opening that way. It doesn't have to be totally open and perfect like this. This would work better for it to be open, but this is fine too. Okay, so the next step is to cut the can in half. So when we cut the can in half, you're going to want the bottom half to be a little bit shorter than the top. I just use my finger to kind of measure more or less where I want to cut. So I'm going to use this line right here. This is a decent marker here, this thick line on the nutrition panel. So when you cut into a thin can like this, you're going to put the blade into it and you're just going to wiggle it really, really gently. Don't jam it. Just make a little hole. And it takes a little bit of time because you want to take it slow. So once you get that first cut in there, it might not be perfect, but that's okay. You're going to stick the blade in all the way and pull it out gently. I like to cut in one direction because if I start sawing, it creates too much bends in the can. You want to cut this as straight as possible, so take your time with it. And you're going to cut this all the way through and around the can. Another thing too is that cutting in metal like this will dull a blade. So if you're carrying a blade around with you, make sure you have some type of way to sharpen that blade back, so that way you're not walking around with a dull knife. Again, be really, really gentle. Be really careful here. It gets kind of tricky towards the end as the cup starts to come apart. I like to hold it on the other side with both hands like this so that it doesn't just tear on me, but be careful because your hands are going to be on the other side of the blade when you do that. So at this point, fold it over and then just kind of cut through gently. Okay, so now I've got my top and my bottom piece. This you could probably just fold it out like that. So now you're going to look at it. It's going to have all these bends in it. Just take the back end of the knife and run the knife along the edge there so you smooth that back out. Like that. That should be good enough for now. So now I'm going to put this to the side. So now we've got the top half. So now you can see the top half is a little bit, not by much, but it's a little bit taller than the bottom. So now you're going to stick 2 of your fingers inside of the can like this. My fingers are like right where the can starts to bend. You can use the knife. I also have, where did my spoon go? I also have my spoon. This might be a little bit safer. This is a camping spoon. These long spoons are the best for camping. Shorter spoons like you would use at your house kind of get in the way, especially if you're trying to stir something. The flames around your pot might be really high, so it's beneficial to have something with a long handle like this. And then this is really useful too to connect it to like your pack or anything like that, or keep it on a string. But what you're going to want to do is put your 2 fingers inside of the can. You're going to pinch the can at the center of both of your fingers, and you're going to find the center on top of the can, like where the center of your fingers are. And you're going to create a dent into the can. So you're going to dent that little bump on the can, and you have to press kind of hard. This might actually work better with a blade because the blade is sharp, but so I usually do it with the blade. I don't use a spoon. I was just trying to see if that would work, but you dent in that way, and you have to be really, really careful. You're only just pushing the blade down and rocking it back and forth. You're not sawing. Don't put the tip into the metal because it will definitely cut through and you can cut your hand. So just rock the blade back and forth between your fingers there, like so. And you'll see that you've now created a crease. I don't know if you can see inside the can, but there's a crease in the can. So now you're going to keep doing that around the entire can. So I'm going to put my finger up against the crease that I just made. I'm going to stick my other finger in there. I'm going to do the same thing again. Pinch it right between my 2 fingers. Find the center. Dent the bump with the blade. And rock the blade between my 2 fingers. And I'll keep doing that until I get the crease that I want. So the reason why we're making this crease is because this is where the flame is going to escape through and kind of create that pilot effect, or that burner effect on the can. And sometimes it's a little tricky to bend the can, but that's okay. Take your time with it. Be gentle with the can. So now I've got my second crease, and I'm going to keep doing that all the way around. And what this does too is it allows us to fit the top half of the can into the bottom half, because now you're reducing the size of the can essentially, because you're folding it in. And if it keeps popping, just crease it a little bit more until it stays. And be careful, because this is sharp, so just take your time, take it easy. So the kind of fuel that you would use for this can, you would use denatured alcohol. So what I use for this is something called HEAT, which you can find that at any Walmart, you can find that at any auto store, you can find that at a gas station. HEAT is what is used to put into a gas tank to evaporate any water in the fuel line. So it's really good fuel for this because it doesn't burn black. It burns pretty clean. It doesn't have a smell to it really. And it burns really hot as well. And a little goes a long way. Keep doing that. I go back and fix the other ones. So when I was hiking, I had my regular stove, and I'll show you guys that stove once I'm finished with this can. But there was a couple of areas where I couldn't get to a camping store or some type of place where they sold any kind of fuel for that area. So I had to improvise and use an alcohol stove. And learning this skill before I went out was definitely a lifesaver, because I would not have eaten for a couple of nights if I didn't know how to do this. Almost done here, just have a couple more creases to go. So now you've got all the creases inside the can. This part's kind of a pain in the ass, but it just takes a little bit of finesse to get one half of the can inside of the other one. Okay, so now that you're here, don't shove it all the way down. You want to see the tops of the creases along the edge. If I push it all the way down, it kind of covers them more. Actually, this is not too bad. But I like to keep mine not pushed all the way down in. So if you see any creases that like aren't totally popped out, you can either lift the can and redent them and start over again, or you can just kind of push them in from there. So I'm going to fix this one here and then just kind of inspect around the can, see if any of them need some help. Like so. Okay, so this is what the whole thing looks like now. I've got a pot here that I'm going to be using. This is my camp pot. It's got a little lid on it. The handle sticks out. I've destroyed this handle from burning it a bunch of times, but it still works. It's made out of titanium, so it's super lightweight. It's really strong. And then this is my whole camp setup for cooking. This is a cup that I use, and this is made out of titanium as well. So if I wanted to put this on the burner, I could as well. I don't do that because the last time I did that, I melted it because this piece here is plastic. But anyway, so this here is a stove for a regular cook setup, which takes a canister of fuel like this. So this would get screwed onto here, and then the pot would go on top of that. However, when you're outside, you have to deal with things like the wind, right? And it's good to keep your flame insulated. So I use a sheet of aluminum like this. You could take a bunch of aluminum foil and just keep folding it over until you get something that's thick like this. I got this at the store. This is a shield for this purpose. So I got this at the store. I think it cost me like, I don't know, not even $3 or $4. It was pretty cheap, but you can make this. You don't have to buy one. You can just take a bunch of aluminum foil, like I said, fold it over a bunch of times until you create a nice thick sheet and use that as a shield around your cook setup. And I'll show you how to use this in a second. So we were talking about the fuel a few minutes ago. This is what I use. So it's gas line, antifreeze, and water remover. So that's what is used in the winter to help remove any water in the gas line and all that. So it evaporates really quickly because it's trying to evaporate off that water. So this, when you put this in your stove here, let me get something to light the stove with, because you don't really want to stick a lighter in this thing. I'm going to use this fortune cookie. Let's see what it says. It says, to love deeply in one direction makes us more loving in all others. That's cute. So I'm going to use this to light my stove, because I'll just light it and then drop it in there. You don't need a lot of this. We're going to be boiling some water. So let's see. I'm probably going to boil half this pot of water. So probably like 1/4 inch of fuel in there, which is plenty. I could probably boil the entire pot of water on that. So when you look in here, it looks like water. It's not water. You see where this piece of the can here kind of goes up? I filled it to about that line, right where the walls of the can start. So now the fuel is in there. As soon as it starts to hit the air, it starts to evaporate a little bit. If I were to stick my lighter in there, I could light it, but it's kind of sketchy. So I'm just going to light this and light that and drop the whole thing in there. So now it lights up the sides. So I'm going to let this sit for a few seconds and kind of prime, and let the whole pilot thing light up, the whole burner light up. If I put the pot on too soon, it'll kind of snuff it out. So you want the heat to kind of build up inside of here. So now I'm going to put the pot on. I'm going to put some of my water in here. Okay, so I just realized I missed one step here. So you're going to have to make an air hole on this. So you would do this before you put the fuel in. So I'm just going to make a little hole on the side of the can here as an air hole. So that way when I put the pot on, it sucks air in through that hole, and it'll allow the whole thing to light up around the edges here. Put the cover on. And sometimes it doesn't always light up. So if you see a side that's not lighting up, I just kind of push my knife against it a little bit. There we go. And then the shield goes over the flame like this. Mine has a dent in it like this, so that the handle can kind of fit in there. And that's the setup. It's not too complicated. It's good in a pinch. Like I said, it has saved my ass quite a few times out in the wild. And there you have it. If you have any questions, let me know. Drop it in the comments below. If you do try this, please do this outside. I'm doing this in my room. I'm doing this in my room on a little table. I'm confident in doing this because I've done this several times. But if you do try this and try this, please do this outside in a well-ventilated area. I have all my windows open right now. My room is really cold because this is obviously going to create carbon monoxide and all that good jazz. So please don't pass out in your house. Don't light your rugs on fire. Be very cautious with heat. It's incredibly flammable. So if you get it on your hands or on your clothes, let it air out for a few minutes so that it evaporates off of you and it's no longer flammable. But yeah, try to do this on a surface, on a hard surface, on like rock or a pavement, so that if anything does happen, it's not a big deal to try to stamp it out. Don't do this on, pine needles or brush or out in the middle of the woods. Do this in a controlled space a few times first. Make sure you have the concept down, that you can repeat this project multiple times before you employ this. Don't do this in your car. Don't do this in a closed space. Use common sense, guys. But yeah, take care. I hope you think this is cool. And if you want more videos like this, let me know.